Welcome in to the Bro Force Squad podcast, where we are way better at whack-a-mole than anyone in the movie we are about to review today. This is our spoilers-heavy review of the new Jordan Peele written and directed film, Us. I am your host, Jeff.
And produced.
Oh, my bad. And produced.
Of course.
He did everything with this. I am your host, Jeff Hornacek. The voice you just heard is our legal counsel, Ronnie Cycli, here to review the movie Us on the 5 Bro Force Squad criteria like we do all of our movies. The acting, the story, our favorite scene, any lasting impact, and its rewatchabilities. And if I left it out of the intro at the top, we're just a bunch of bros who drink beer and watch movies. Thank you guys for joining us. Cycli, before we dive into it with Acting Cast, what were your overall thoughts of Us?
So we're doing spoilers, right?
Yes, let's spoil.
Is there a way to review this film without spoilers in a fair way?
I mean, I don't even know what that would sound like, so I guess no.
Yeah, so, I mean, overall thoughts, if we're going to judge it on the basis of being Jordan Peele's second film, his sophomore try, I'll still say Get Out is the overall superior film. But what Jordan Peele did again in this is I will always applaud originality. I will always applaud something that he brought to the table that does something different. And he did it here again. It definitely is going to have its holes, as we'll discuss here in a little bit. But I still was heavily entertained and have been doing nothing but talking about the film 3 days later. So that's a compliment. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think if the goal of a film is to, and we'll get into this in impact and rewatchability, but leave something with you or on your mind when you step out of the theater. That's what both of his first two films have done. And I agree. I think Get Out is holistically a better movie for me, but this one was really fucking interesting, man. I mean, I've been reading about it. The Reddit thread you sent me, I've dove in through the past couple days. I'm interested to see your opinion on some of the questions I have, and I think it needs a rewatch for me, but it might have just been too smart for me, honestly, as a moviegoer. But in the day and age where we feel like everything is a reboot or a sequel or a prequel, Jordan Peele is kind of carving his own path, which is pretty nice to see.
And I'll always support that. Even we can talk about, like, is he becoming the modern M. Night Shyamalan kind of thing? You know what? M. Night Shyamalan has a lot of flaws, but I appreciate originality. Even if I go in and it sucks, I say, hey, at least it was worth a shot.
Yeah, I have seen that comparison a lot of like early M. Night, and I think there's some significant differences, but also some pretty big similarities, which we can get into.
He's willing to try. And I saw a quote that Jordan Peele said at the end of the day, all he wants of people who go see his movies is that he wants people talking about it on their way home. And you know what? He is 2 for 2.
Well, mission accomplished there.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, let's dive right into it with the acting and the cast. So what did you think of the performances and the actors in Us?
So 100% fantastic, all around the board. There was definitely some scenes. Okay, Lupita Nyong'o, I hope I'm saying that right, stole the show. There was definitely some scenes where when she was her Red character, obviously we're spoilers here, when she was Red, where it almost felt comical, but you have to respect why it felt comical once you realize what's happening when she's doing that broken, deep voice. It's kind of silly at first, and you're like, and then the other clones are screaming in their communication. Some people were kind of giving awkward laughs in our theater, but when you break it down, that's not the fault of the actors. That's the deepness of what's going on.
It has like some of the humor is kind of like a Coen Brothers type humor where you're like laughing because you're so uncomfortable.
You feel exactly like I shouldn't be laughing. So she was fantastic. I thought Evan Alex, also the kid, he was Jason and also Pluto. He was fantastic. I'm not sure if he's ever been anything else. I never really looked it up, but he was obviously a focal point in the film. And then Elizabeth Moss. We'll talk about scenes in a little bit, but she wasn't in a lot of the movie. But the scenes she was in, she definitely stole.
Creep me the fuck out.
It was fantastic for a guy who's only been in 2 movies, albeit huge movies. Was great. But overall, I had the acting, just like Get Out, was just out of the world. What did you think?
Yeah, Lupita Nyong'o. I mean, it was awesome to see her and Winston Duke, obviously from Black Panther, in this together as a married couple. I think they had perfect chemistry. Kind of like when you're in a relationship and you love someone, but like some of their eccentricities kind of annoy you at times. They played that perfectly. And then the kid actors in this were great. Shahadi Wright Joseph as Zora, and of course Evan Alex as Pluto. The movie rides on them to be very, very versatile as performers, and they were. And I mean, obviously, as the Red character, they have to do something completely different than they do as their other character, or I guess the antithesis characters. And if that didn't work, then the whole film might have collapsed, but it did not.
Yeah.
All right, story and plot. I mean, we can talk about this here, but really, an impact is where I'm going to have all my questions on this. But something very original that we saw here, and the way he tells the story, I think, especially for the majority of the movie, I was thinking maybe we're not going to get any exposition or any explanation for some of the questions we have about the world that he's built. And we did get it, maybe to the movie's detriment in some spots. But what did you think of the story Jordan Peele told in Us?
Yeah, so again, one of those films that maybe overall was it too smart for everyone. The fact that I had to break, I definitely am not going to be the only one to admit this, and I know you feel the same way. I had to go read about it afterwards. Is that a compliment to the film or is that a deterrent on the film? That's up for debate. Do you want a movie to be so deep in metaphor that the viewer struggles with what exactly is happening? Not to say that was an obvious parts, but that was definitely one of the things that you are watching, you're recognizing, look, he is an amazing storyteller. Did he go a little far? Maybe. But as a story as a whole, was it entertaining throughout? 100%. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. While I was still contemplating, my wheels were turning, what is happening? But overall, as a story, was it a mixture of horror, thriller, and it had a little basic elements of a lot of other things. But at the end of the day, I could not stop thinking about what is the overall meaning. That's all I kept thinking. What is actually going on? So that's a compliment, and I also can understand why some people didn't enjoy it as much.
Yeah, I don't know what to take at face value and what to take at metaphor. I don't know if I ever will. And so that is what makes it kind of difficult to judge the story. I mean, it was creative. It was calculated risk on his part that I think for the most part paid off. I think the stuff that like I'm just having some issues with are at what part in this world that he built and this kind of elaborate metaphor that he constructs with these characters am I supposed to start looking at it like you said as an allegory or allegorical, and when do I just need to say, oh no, that part was literal? Because for the exposition that he gave us, especially where Adelaide, and again this is a spoilers review, talks about the switch that her and her tethered made a long time ago. I mean, we kind of have the unreliable narrator now for the course of the whole film. So you could go back and watch it now in a totally different lens, and I'm probably just confusing myself even more.
Yeah.
But maybe that's to the strength of the film. I don't know. I don't think. I think what we need to do is just fucking kidnap Jordan Peele, tie him up in our basement, and ask him all these questions because he's probably the only one that can really give us straight answers.
Oh yeah, and it's one of those films like where Get Out, how I felt was every single line mattered in that movie. Literally, It didn't matter what scene it was, it had an impact. This movie, I was expecting that, so I was overthinking it, I think, a little bit. Now, when we get into how we want to debate, since we're talking about the story, is this a metaphor for, a lot of people are saying poverty. A lot of people are saying, it's a metaphor for our own inner enemy kind of thing. So
I've even heard the internet as a metaphor. Like,
ooh, I don't think I saw that one.
The tunnels and the literal rabbit hole that Adelaide goes into is about like this toxic spread of things and how we basically have like an alternate self that we can be online.
Yeah, that's actually a great. See, that's what I'm saying. Like,
and again, none of these thoughts are mine, so I can't take credit. That's
no, I mean, the thing is, when you go online, you can find a thought about everything with this film. And so, Jordan Peele, if that's what he's going for, the art of it, is it your interpretation? That's something artists go for. They want it to be up to the viewer to say, what did you see out of my creation? Because sometimes it isn't available. Maybe Jordan Peele saw something that you and I see something else. And but for me, I definitely have leaned on the poverty, saying, hey, look at these people aren't any different from us, right? Like you look at Lupita's character, whether it's Red, and when she got to the real world, she became someone who loved her family, cared about people, had friends, lived a normal life. because she was the opportunity, but the people underneath weren't given an opportunity. We looked at them, had that chance. So I bought that, but it also took a lot of reading for me to finally get there. And again, is that a positive or negative?
Right. All right, on to best scene. What was your favorite scene in Us?
I don't want to hear yours. I have two, and I'm wondering if yours is one of mine.
Mine might actually surprise you. I think it was just a scene that I thought was just a really nice kind of breather in the middle of the movie, and it was a short scene, but it's when the family is in the car about to drive back to the beach, figuring out who has the best kill count.
Oh,
And
I
there's
love that.
there's the discourse between the daughter and Adelaide where she goes, "I'm in the lead. I killed the twins," and Adelaide goes, "No, you didn't. I just had to go inside and kill the one that was lying through the table. So I'm technically in the lead."
That was
It was
just
just,
a family thing. I love the daughter wants to drive in the middle of all this chaos.
and they let her.
And they let her, but that's like family. Like, I want to drive. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, like of all time,
That's a great.
the world is being taken over, and now's when you want to hop in the driver's seat. Yeah, that just felt like very real dialogue, and you have to give credit to Jordan Peele because I mean he is a talented comedic actor, we all know, but as a director, it's tough to know that scenes like that where you're trying to put humor in the middle of this very serious or very sort of traumatizing story you're telling. If that could really take people out of the movie, but I thought it worked really well, and to me that was just kind of like a microcosm of why part of why he's so talented as a director is he knows where to put those little moments of levity. Yeah. And it didn't lessen any of the tension at all. Like I was still scared shitless. I just thought it was a really cool and real moment.
He balances every, like, again, 2 films in, 2 for 2 on the balance
Thanos
of the thrill.
Thanos would appreciate the balance in Jordan Peele.
He really would.
All right, what are your best scene or scenes?
So it wasn't the best scene. I did love the Elizabeth Moss beach house scene. Like, that was fantastic when her family's getting killed. And then I don't remember what Elizabeth Moss's clone character was called, but when she kind of cuts herself.
God.
Because you know what I thought? Again, that was something I didn't notice. So when they're on the beach, Elizabeth Moss's character is talking about how she had plastic
surgery, yeah.
And so her clone had to cut herself underneath, right, in the tethered world.
Yep.
And then so when you see the tethered Elizabeth Moss just do the maniacal, like, crying and to laughter, that was just like, she nailed it. She was impressive. But in all honesty, the best scene, though, that was just impressive, probably the best acting part. The best scene to me was the end Lupita's Adelaide versus Red dance fight scene. Like, the way Jordan Peele filmed that. The camera work, the zooming in and zooming out, the music, all together during that choreographed dance. Unbelievable. I remember watching that last scene and just going like, this is fantastic. This is just unbelievable. I might not know what the hell's going on, but this is a beautiful scene.
Yeah, at that point, I almost couldn't even appreciate it because I was like, wait, what the fuck did she just explain to her? Trying to but that was, again, shot really well. The whole aesthetic of the underground area was super intense. And I knew from the trailers, just because they showed a little bit of Lupita Nyong'o kind of traversing those hallways, I was like, this is probably going to be towards the end of the movie and probably going to be really, really intense. And that was dead on. All right, there's going to be a long one. Not a long one, but I have a couple questions here. Impact of this movie. Before I get into the things that stuck with me, what do you think the lasting impact of this film is or will be, or just what was it on you specifically?
I still think it just shows that Hollywood can be successful with originality. Whether people walk out of it enjoying it, confused by it, loving it, or hating it, that people are supporting. Both of these films have made over $100 million in a week. You know, I hope that's the impact. I hope it encourages storytelling. Maybe for every M. Night Shyamalan 10 years later, 15 years later, a Jordan Peele comes around, I hope it's less time than that. This film itself is Jordan Peele is going to get another green light to do his 3rd film, right?
100%, yeah.
The movie studios are gonna give him whatever he wants. What's crazy is his budget was only $20 million. I did not believe that when I read that.
But right, $12 million spent on rabbits alone.
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. I think for me, the impact is Jordan Peele is going to keep on getting that green light to keep doing what he's doing. And again, I just hope it encourages originality. And all. What about you?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, I love the big budget tentpole films, but we need movies like this. I mean, I couldn't handle like one of these every week, but
Right.
we need more inventive and risk-taking filmmakers that are going to not just take a script based on a current IP and take risks. And I know that a lot of people don't want to do this because if it doesn't work, we've seen like when M. Night's movies are just horrible, like the
Right.
backlash on it. But we all win when these things are good, and I think it's like you said, just really refreshing to not have this have to be an independent movie, to have it be something that's very accessible to people. All right, this is specific plot questions I have that I couldn't quite find the answers to on Reddit, and if anyone has an opinion on this, please either comment below or tweet at us at Broforce Squad with your take. But Cycly, I wanted to get your opinion on a few of these. All right, the first one. So Pluto, Adelaide's son. There's of course that scene at the end where they're in
Yeah.
the car, they stop, they see the red version of him. They realize it's a trap, and Pluto essentially controls the tethered and gets him to back into fire. What did that scene mean? How do you think he could control him? Or like, is that one of those just metaphorical things where it's not a rule that I need to understand?
Yeah. No, no, I have the same thing. The only thing I saw, and again, this is all theory, right? We're none of us are Jordan Peele. We have no idea what it is. What I read, and something that I guess if I'm gonna buy this whole story, I have to buy this too, was that obviously when they were in the closet together in the beginning, when they first Jason and Red and Pluto, he's doing motions and he's following him. So I think that's when he's realizing, hey, you follow me no matter what I do. There was the theory that said the tethered for some reason are very much closer when they're young, and they're more entwined when they're young. So when you break down the Adelaide Red, why they met when they did on that boardwalk was because they were young and they
Sure.
literally mimicked each other. Like obviously they're always mimicking each other, but to the core. And so that was one of the things I saw, that Adelaide and Red, when they were younger, had a bigger connection. Maybe that's what Pluto and Jason had. Now, again, I'm not Jordan Peele. I can buy that if I'm buying everything else. What do you think?
That's actually the best explanation I've heard is them because it ties more into like maybe a pseudo telepathic connection when she was on the boardwalk. And oh, I mean, little kids do weird stuff and wander off all the time, but she did almost seem compelled to walk into the funhouse by something, and so that would even tie more
Yeah.
into, it shows the mirror image of what's happening at the tethered underground. For whatever reason, she felt the need to walk up those stairs that night.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
All right, another question I have. So the Hands Across America commercial they show in the beginning of the movie. Before I get to my real question, is the version of Adelaide that's watching that, has she already been switched out with the tethered? Or is that the one who ends up going underneath ground and uses that
Yeah.
as her inspiration
Now I'm
to
trying to remember what part of the movie. I feel like that happened earlier, right?
it was the opening scene actually when
Yeah.
it's the
So I think
commercial of
that's because that's where she comes up with the idea, right?
the one who went down. I didn't know if it
Yeah.
was like if Hands Across America was actually the organization that created all the clones.
Oh, that's
And
not bad.
and this
That's a question too. I never thought
well
about
and this was essentially like their plan all along.
Hands Across America. Yeah. First of all, I didn't even know until like a few years ago that was a real thing.
And
Like I
apparently
didn't
it was like a
realize
disaster too.
people tried literally holding hands across America.
Fucking
If
hippies.
you've ever seen Beer Fest, there's a really funny mention to Hands Across America. But
I want one of those T-shirts now. If we can find one, I'll link
yeah,
it below.
I gotta imagine Adelaide. I know. Yeah, I gotta imagine Adelaide saw it, and that's where she came up with the idea for revenge.
Okay. I just didn't know if they were, again, the organization that had facilitated all this, and it was really like some big conspiracy to um, plan this thing and get everyone's DNA or something and clone them, which we still, I guess, don't know how they got their DNA.
Right. Yeah, that's the government. That's all we know.
All right. Another question I had was pretty much that. Who created the tethered and why? And is that something that is ever alluded to really, really subtly in the movie, or is that part just metaphor? You think
For
entirely?
me, this is where the film is good, not great, you know, or like the way like Get Out was just a fantastic thing. For me, you can sit here and say the metaphors are unbelievable. Jordan Peele's directing was unbelievable. The acting was unbelievable. All of that, the cinematography. But when you really want to break down the script, you see holes really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that concept, okay, who designed these? Is it the government? Okay, what are there tunnels the size of America? And okay, let's say one person flies from New York to LA. Does the tethered person have to literally walk 3,000 miles through these tunnels? You know, there's a lot of things you can start breaking down fundamentally. So if you want to take this film on the surface, then fine. But also, how do you take a film that's so heavy in metaphor on the surface?
Yeah, and I don't want to sound like frustrated at all, but I feel like there is an element here where Peele can, you know, he explicitly explains some things. Like there is a 5-minute scene of exposition at the end of the movie where Adelaide and Red in the basement, she literally tells her like her whole backstory, how she got there, what her whole plan is. And so if you're going to be that explicit with really, really big details of the plot, it just seems too convenient that the stuff that he leaves out or might be deemed a quote unquote plot hole, he can just say, oh, well, that part's a metaphor.
Yeah, it's a Deus Machina, man, the God machine. You know, like the writer is God and just tells us what things are, and we have to accept it. But like I said, that's why this film is not Get Out's level.
And then the last question I had, and I think I know the answer to this. I just want to make sure that I'm getting like a big part of the plot right. So hopefully someone else at home is wondering this as well. But the entirety of the reveal, basically, that the clones are coming up to murder the ones they're tethered to, was that all because of Red's plan, specifically when she got sent down into the tunnel? Or was that always going to happen at some point, and she just had her own specific motivation with Adelaide? She wasn't orchestrating all this.
I took it as it was all her play. The only reason I think that is because they showed that dance scene, you know, when they're young.
Right.
And then all the tethered realized there was something different about this girl. Obviously, we know now it was because she was a normal person, not a clone. That's why they saw something special about her. But I took that to be they decided to make her like their messiah, right? Like they're gonna worship her and follow her. And she said, "All right, guys, I got a plan. It's gonna take 20 years to come to fruition, but that's why everyone followed her because they realized she's not like us." But I don't know. That's again not Jordan Peele here. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I think the whole I was hoping the whole point of her exposition was to reveal the motive for all this happening, but also I knew that it adds an element to the story because now that we know that the Adelaide we've been watching the whole movie is actually the tethered one, like her kids are essentially half tethered or half cloned. So that adds a whole nother, like when you go back and rewatch the movie, there's a whole nother element there. Like,
which is I love the metaphor though. That's the whole poverty thing. What's really the difference? They're us, right? Like it's the opportunity. Are the people down there really evil, or is that all they know?
exactly. Yeah, the basically just the only difference between the tethered beneath ground and those on the surface is opportunity or the chance at this life. And then they even show that and it was a little bit like a caricature, but these people definitely exist, but they're played very stereotypical. But Tim Heidecker and Elizabeth Moss's characters is kind of like the upper class family that's like so disillusioned with life and like so far gone from reality that like they're insufferable. Like those people exist all over the place, but the way Peele crafted them, I thought was.
I love the rosé all day and vodka
clock.
Like no too many. Yeah.
Guarantee you and I will be saying that next time.
All the time.
We go get drunk. All right, last two. Rewatchability. Oh, sorry, last one actually. Rewatchability. I mean, this is a film you have to go back and rewatch, right?
Yeah, there's no way to be. I guess if you really just hate this film, you know, and you say I hate metaphors, I want things to be clear cut, then you're never gonna watch this film. But that's really not this isn't the movie for you if you're that person, and you should know that by now. If you didn't enjoy Get Out, this wasn't for you either. So I 100% have to rewatch it as soon as I can because I feel like every rewatch is going to just be more revealing than I even anticipate. And then even a third time is going to be even more revealing.
Yeah, once this is out on Blu-ray, we'll have to do a commentary on it. And the next time you and I are in town together, it'll have to be Vodka O'Clock, and we'll have to go revisit this.
All day.
Rosé all day. I almost feel like I need to have a list of like questions I have and then go back and revisit the movie. As fucking nerdy as that sounds, I think it might.
Yeah, no, for real, you need to. I'm surprised Elizabeth Moss didn't at one point say, "Let's get white girl wasted" or anything like that.
I wonder if that was like in and then it got left on the cutting room floor.
Oh my god, sorry, I don't know why, but the scene in the beach that made me think when she said the Vodka O'Clock when Lupito says, "Oh, I'm not much for talking." And then at the end, you realize why. You realize she was a tethered. That's why she doesn't like to talk.
Yeah, and also
stuff like that. That's why you need to rewatch this film. Those little things you're gonna.
And I'm wondering too if she. Sorry, last question to sort of jump back into Impact briefly. Her whole aversion to going to the beach, was that because she knew that the tethered were beneath ground there and was worried that something would happen, or had she suppressed that memory and it was just sort of subconscious?
I took it. She was scared. She knew they were waiting for her, and if the opportunity came, she'd switch her back or something like that. But again, that's my interpretation, which these films are all about. What do you think?
I kind of like your take, because the movie to me is much creepier if you know that she knows that literally beneath them while she's sitting on the beach reading a magazine is a whole group of clones of people.
Million people ready to, yeah.
And that's why she freaks out. And it would explain the panic when her son goes missing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because she knows that she grabbed her clone.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that works better. All right, Cycling, before we let the people go, any last thoughts on Us?
Again, I don't think I have all the answers. I don't think you have all the answers. And unless we had Jordan Peele on the show, I don't think any of us will get all the answers until one day he wants to, gift us with that. I hope he keeps making these type of movies, though. In all honesty, I will keep going every time because I love the concept. I love the originality.
Yep, same here. Jordan Peele, if you're listening to this, just feel free to come on the podcast or just come hang out with us. We're cool dudes. We're super chill. All right, for our legal counsel, Ronnie Cycli, I've been the mayor, Jeff Hornacek, and we are the Bro Force Squad podcast. Thank you guys for checking us out. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Bro Force Squad. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. Just type in Bro Force Squad, 3 words, and check out everything that we're doing on our website, broforcesquad.com. Thank you guys, and we'll catch you next time. That scene where all the people are underground and there are clones up top or on the roller coaster was pretty
funny. Oh my god, that and the whack